Good afternoon. My name's Eddie Nicholas, Director of Operations, and I'd like to say thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Unfortunately, like many people in the world today, our plans have had to change and we're not able to deliver this face-to-face. The team have come together and they've pulled together a presentation which will hopefully still share with you our aims and ambitions and our passion with our academy. We will go through the following agenda. I'll introduce you shortly to Rob Maliband, the MD of Crimson. He will give you the history of Crimson and where we're going. We'll then pass on to Martin from Digital Native, our partner in training in the Academy training. We'll then hear from Kat. Kat is our head of Academy and she will take you through the individual information on the programme. We'll give you the 4-year detail and the overview of not just the system training, but more importantly, the business and soft skills training. You'll then hear from some of our existing cohort and you'll hear from them around what it means to them, the apprentice scheme, how they found it and what they enjoy from it. You'll then hear from Mark Cotton, who is practice lead for our Dynamics practice, and he will explain in more detail what Dynamics is all about. And then we'll come to a final summary slide and explain our next steps to you. Hopefully you'll enjoy the presentation. I'll now hand over to Rob Maliband, the MD for Crimson.
Thank you, Eddie. That's very kind of you. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what time you're actually watching this. Obviously, we are under certain circumstances, but hopefully you'll get what you want from this little video. Just a bit of an introduction to myself first. I started in IT technology way back in the early 1980s. I joined and did an apprenticeship with British Coal. There was a miner strike at the time and I remember it particularly well. But what I do remember well was how good the apprenticeship scheme was for me personally. I took so much from it and I learned so much which I'd still carry with me today and has really been the kind of cornerstone of who I am. I moved from that into a startup business in the late 1980s and had fantastic time through what was really legacy technology through the 1990s right the way into year 2000. And I was part of a couple of startup businesses which was just great fun. I can't tell you how great fun it was. But then we moved through year 2000 and everything changed in lots of different ways. The first thing that changed is we moved more and more away from what was legacy and a lot more towards what we knew at the time as towards the enterprise era. Pretty much coding really, things like .NET, Java that you'd still hear about today, but that was only just starting out then, just at the time that we started Crimson. So Crimson was, I was a co-founder back in 2001. It's something we'd been planned for a couple of years, and we had plans to build it into a valuable business, but a people business. We wanted people to come and join us and enjoy the journey, share the journey. And better themselves, take the experience that I had myself personally, and actually pass that on to new people, both with experience and people starting out afresh. And I think that journey really led us where we are today. So we're now a 24 million pound business. We have two very distinct service streams. We have a recruitment part of the business, which is recruitment all in IT. And we have our solutions business that really came on the back end of what we used to know as more of the software house type of mentality. Excuse me. To get there though has been one hell of a journey. As I say, back in 2001, we're on the back end of year 2000 when a lot of money had been spent in theory to stop planes falling out skies, as we all remember it then. But we really did jump on the actual the journey of enterprise, and we got heavily involved in Java and .NET at the time. But significant things happened in our journey. The first one was 2005, where we actually became part of the Microsoft fraternity, which became a gold partner. Not really understanding what that meant to us at the time, but very much learned a few years later, back in 2008, 2009. So we drove the business through the credit crunch. And on the back end of that is we had a very strong vision of coming out the other side as one of the key Microsoft Gold partners, which we are today. So going from coding pretty much into more platform delivery technology and more configurative type of work assignments has led us to today. where are we today? So we work very much around CRM. We work on the actual Dynamics platform, and we are one of the few managed partners to Microsoft. So we work very heavily into different sectors. So sectors is part of our vision, is part of our future, and we want to be experts not just in technology, but in actual different sectors themselves. And again, in particular, those sectors are they are local authorities, they are house building, housing authorities, and higher education, as well as other household brands that you can see on the screen today. I discussed about people business. We've grown our business literally from working in a small garage in Lichfield to where we are now. We've got in excess of 90 full-time permanent employees, as well as using subcontractors as well. And I can say very proudly that a lot of our people have been with us along that journey. So in a 19-year history, we've got people been in excess of 15 years, in excess of 10 years, and 5 years. And each of those people have actually not just lived the journey with us, but they've also grown in their own skill sets as well. Some of which joined us in kind of back-end jobs, admin jobs, and have moved forward into key sales teams, into management positions, and have actually diversified their own skills as well along the way, which is something we absolutely encourage and empower wherever we actually can. Part of the actual Microsoft journey also led us to looking to actually scale the business out. So back in 2017, we joined Harvey Nash. Harvey Nash is a global business. It's got an offshore operation in Vietnam, and it's also got a lot of recruitment businesses right across Northern Europe, Northern America, and Australasia as well. Reason for joining Harvey Nash was really to give us the opportunity to cross-sell, upsell, also to explore the European markets, and finally as well, which is an important point, is to invest in our business. So we are currently in a 3-year investment cycle, of which the actual academy is a big part of that. So we've actually brought in quite a few people with experience to actually strengthen our sales teams, strengthen our consultancy teams, and also making sure we're investing in people to grow through academy right the way into all of our different practices. We're also looking to develop in the future, so part of our investment goes beyond that. So our phase 2 is how can we look at actually moving into new competencies, in particular data, an area that Microsoft themselves and the actual whole of the economy are looking to move forward, of how and what you can use data for, and we're no exception to that. So that's very much part of our plans in the foreseeable future of building data practices. Hopefully that's give you a bit of a flavour for me. Hopefully it's give a bit of flavour for who Crimson are and what we're part of. And more importantly, I really want to leave the message is how much a people business that we are. We want to continue to be, and play hard, work hard is very much the kind of way that we like to work within Crimson. So yes, I'll leave you now in the capable hands of Martin. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rob, for that fantastic overview of Crimson. My name's Martin Stilgo and I'm a Director of Digital Native, and we're really proud to be Crimson's appointed training provider. We've been working with Crimson now for around 4 years, and over that time I think we've developed a fantastic partnership, and the Academy is good evidence of how closely we work together. So a little bit about Digital Native. I guess the key thing that I'd like you to take from this slide is that as an organisation, we like to develop relationships with our clients. We like those relationships to be based on trust, and excellence is a key word for us and something that we strive for in all areas of our business activity. The reason that trust is important is essentially our apprenticeships are about looking at the future. They're looking at the future skills needs of employers and also the future careers of apprentices. And we need that openness and transparency in order that we can fulfill both of those goals. So as an organisation, we describe ourselves as a niche training provider. We operate purely in digital apprenticeships, and within that fairly narrow band, we then specialise even further into data, into software, and that's both software developers and software testers, and digital. Now, the reason that I think that's quite important for apprentices of ours, it means that we have resources to support them. So as a software tester, you may want to develop your coding skills, you may want to understand how data solutions are put together, and we have coaches and resources to help you with that. Today, obviously, we're here to talk about a software testing program. So I just want to take you through briefly the components of that apprenticeship. The apprenticeship is based around one knowledge module, which is an ISTQB Foundation Software Testing Award. And that will give you the knowledge needed to operate as a junior software tester. You also need to develop a portfolio, and the portfolio is a document, it's video clips, it's sound recordings, it's screenshots that evidence that you have applied that knowledge in the workplace and that you can operate competently and professionally. And an important part of apprenticeships is not just technical knowledge, is that you can also work well with people. Rob spoke about Crimson being a people business, and it's important that those softer skills are developed, and I'm sure that Kat will talk a little bit more about those when she runs us through the academy. Another important piece of evidence is you have to have an employer testimony, usually written by your line manager, and this is where your line manager confirms that A, you have the knowledge and have carried out the activities required as a junior software tester, but it's also a chance for the employer to talk again about those softer skills, the way that you work, the way that you've added value to your employer and projects that you've worked on. You then have a synoptic project. Now, the synoptic project is set by an organisation called the British Computer Society. They are the endpoint assessment organisation for digital apprenticeships, and they will give you a project which you have 5 days to undertake at the end of your programme, again to evidence that full range of skills. At that particular point, you then go through to endpoint assessment, and this is where an assessor from the British Computer Society will review all of the activities you've taken. So they'll confirm you have that knowledge module, they'll review your portfolio, employer testimony and project, and they'll arrange a video call with you. Typically this lasts for around an hour and a half, and this again is an opportunity for you to both confirm the quality of the work you've done, and also especially where you've added value to both your employer and projects and clients that you've worked for. So I'm not going to read through this slide, but there's some important things on here. It takes you through really the curriculum for the ISTQB and the knowledge that you're going to gain on this programme. You'll see in bold that I've put why COTS software needs testing, and that's commercial off-the-shelf software. Now, what's really important and what we're really excited about with the Academy is everything that you learn on ISTQB will be applied directly to live Microsoft environments. So as we learn, we will go back to solutions that Crimson have developed for clients and look at how we can apply that knowledge there. And I think that's really important. The other thing that I'd like to say on that slide is there's probably a lot of buzzwords and terminology that at this stage of the application process you're not familiar with. I'd strongly advise any applicants to spend a bit of time YouTube, Google search, and just try and get an understanding of exactly what it is you're applying for. And as we go through the recruitment process, we're looking that you are engaged, we're looking that you're learning, and we're looking at that you're genuinely interested in these roles. So I would suggest anything on here that you're not too certain about, quick Google search, YouTube, there's tons of resources out there, and you can start to understand what a software tester actually does if you undertake that. The other thing I wanted to do today was talk a little bit about Crimson, and the main reason for that is I think they offer a very unique apprenticeship opportunity. So if we look at why I think Crimson is a great place for people to start their consultancy careers, firstly, there's a focus on quality assurance. That's really important to Crimson. It's important that solutions are right and they're right first time when they go back to clients. And starting your career and being trained to think in that direction is a great place to be. The academy for me is so much more than a standard apprenticeship. There's some really exciting things that Crimson are going to help you to do to broaden your skill set. A lot of the apprenticeship is about specifically work that software testers do. Through the academy, you gain business skills, you gain consultancy skills. You're also assigned a buddy and a mentor by Crimson, and that's fantastic support when you start and join a new company. I think the apprenticeship program that we've developed in partnership with Crimson, it's about developing good people. And the thing that I'd like really for you to take from this slide is that there's a lot of time and effort and passion into developing you and developing your career. You also have the opportunity at the end of the programme, should you wish, to progress directly onto year 2 of a digital technology solutions degree. So essentially you have a pathway to go from school, college, career change, second degree, and work all the way through without there being any cost to yourself. I think really what I'd like to leave you with is a little bit about how you can maximise the opportunity and perhaps also maximise your chance of actually securing the apprenticeship with Crimson. One of the things I'd really strongly suggest is that you're open-minded as you work through the recruitment process, and if you are successful when you join Crimson, you're going to be presented with a lot of information and a lot of resources, and if you're open-minded, you may be surprised that areas that currently are not on your radar you could be really interested in. The most important thing as an apprentice or anybody junior in their career is actually understanding what the problem is. We can be very much task focused but not actually understanding why we're doing something. The other behaviour that I think is fantastic, both as you go through the recruitment process and when you join Crimson, is to be reflective. This isn't about beating yourself up, but learning why something's gone well, learning how we can perhaps sometimes do things differently. And most importantly, take responsibility. This can be as simple as one of the steps within the recruitment process is a telephone interview. Take responsibility for that interview by ensuring that you're in an appropriate environment, you're ready to take the call, you've done some research, you're in a quiet place. One piece of advice I would like to point out to all applicants is you're effectively being assessed at every interaction you have with ourselves and Crimson. If we set up that telephone call and you're coming out to the supermarket and there's wind noise on the call, we're probably not going to be as impressed as if you're in a nice quiet area. And finally, just remember this is about your future. And I think everything, when you start any kind of junior role, build your future. It's not about keeping Crimson happy. It's not about keeping Digital Native happy. It's about building your future. So thank you for that. My email address is on there should you have any questions from anything we've worked through today. And now I'd like to hand you over to Kat to talk through the programme.
Thank you, Martin. So we set up our Crimson Academy in 2019, and we're actually rather proud of it. We started off with a business problem, which was how to expand our Dynamics 365 practice with the challenge around the digital skills gap. Our solution was to grow our own talent using the apprenticeship programme, or the apprenticeship scheme introduced by the government. We adopted a change management methodology. So we first identified what our idea of what success would look like, and we built our programme around that. Overall, we wanted to create rounded, successful individuals with a bright future, and I'll talk quite a lot about that as we go through this section. So I'm going to share an insight into our journey to build the Crimson Academy, about what we believe makes our apprenticeship special, together with an insight into some of the awareness sessions that I run with the Academy as part of the programme. As you've already heard, we work in partnership with Digital Native, who are dedicated exclusively to delivering bespoke tech apprenticeships. And both Crimson and Digital Native have a vested interest in the success of our apprenticeships, and we're really passionate about doing that. So what's our version of the finished product? Well, I've already mentioned we want to grow successful, rounded professionals. We don't want just to create technical experts in their field. We want to grow those rounded professionals that are going to be successful in their career. So we've taken an holistic approach to training our apprentices, focused not only on their technical competence, but also through developing their emotional intelligence. What do we mean by professional? Well, that's about being credible in the industry. Our environment is low code, no code, as you'll hear shortly from Mark after my presentation. So during recruitment, we look for raw talent. We don't necessarily need you to be an IT expert, although we'll look for those too. But what we really want is to find individuals who are interested to solve business problems using technology. We're looking for the right mindset, personality and interpersonal skills to fit the Crimson family culture. We want to find people who are both likeable and personable, of course. So this is our planned programme for 2020. It's based on our 2019 programme. We've taken on board quite a lot of feedback from our current apprentices, from our colleagues, and from Digital Native. And if you're successful in joining our academy, you'll start with an induction for the first 2 weeks, where we'll give you a really good opportunity to get to know Crimson as a family. You'll meet some of the key stakeholders. We'll do some orienteering around the business park where we're based in Birmingham. We'll do lots of team building activities so that you really feel part of our family and part of a team of apprentices. You'll then go on to spend some time with Digital Native over the next few weeks. You'll see on the second line here, we've called it the boot camp. And this is where you'll learn the skills and the process knowledge to be a software tester. Now, we've selected the software tester apprenticeship because we believe it gives a really good insight in the software lifecycle, and you don't have to be an IT expert to undertake the training. We'll give you all those skills that you need to undertake that role. We'll also give you the skills that we believe you need to be a consultant, and that's those skills that will allow you to be comfortable in front of the customer, that will give you the skills to be able to understand how to understand customer requirements, how to take those customer requirements, understanding your business problem, understanding how to play back that solution to the customer, and more importantly, how to deal with difficult conversations that might come up. So you're comfortable in handling all of those effective communication skills. Once we feel you're ready, you'll be assigned to work alongside a functional consultant on a live project. And you'll be part of a wider team, and you'll be able to work alongside these really skilled consultants where you'll learn and grow as part of that team, working on live projects. You'll see this blue band along the middle where I referenced the Knowledge Academy, and I'll talk about that in a little while. So once you've completed your degree, your apprenticeship, the level 4 software apprenticeship, which will take roughly 12 months, you'll then be offered the opportunity to go on to do a degree, and you can focus on one of either consultancy, data or developer. And I think you can just see down the bottom here the exams. So don't be frightened by these exams. The first exam that you'll take is the ISTQB. So at the end of the software tester training space at the beginning of the apprenticeship, when we believe you're ready, when Digital Native believe you're ready to take that test, you'll take that test, and it's a sort of foundation into software. And later on, you'll take 2 Microsoft qualifications. So we are a Microsoft Gold partner, so that's part of our normal business as usual, that we continually grow and develop our competencies around the Microsoft products. So the MB901 is the sort of fundamentals of Dynamics 365, and the MB200 is sort of the next one in terms of your competency. So I've already said that we're not just interested in growing experts. We want to grow rounded, successful people, and there's a reason for that. In order to be successful, you cannot be an expert in isolation. You've got to be able to articulate and share that knowledge with others. Now, emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize emotions, to understand their importance, and to use that knowledge to guide your own thinking and behavior. And we believe it's really important for the success of individuals. So we work hard to ensure that our program encourages the emotional development of our apprentices. And we do that through a number of sessions that we run as part of the Knowledge Academy. So coming up now is some of the example of the sessions that we run. So we work on building your personal brand and effective communication, understanding how to adapt to differences. So we cover sessions around unconscious bias and diversity and inclusion, is really important. So we have a session covering off symptoms of stress and how to, how to manage stress and how to identify stress in others. We also do a session around mindset. So that's focused on the difference between a fixed mindset, where you believe that intelligence is static, a belief that you're born smart and intelligent, and growth mindset, where you believe that intelligence can be developed. Now, Dr. Carol Dweck has researched how the mindset you adopt has a massive impact on the choices you make and the way you lead your life. And this is why we spend a considerable amount of time within the early months of the Academy focusing on self-awareness and personal growth. So this is one of my favourite quotes. You'll hear this quite a lot. I've got quite a few favourite quotes, but this one particularly around lifelong learning. Did you know that a baby born today has a 50% chance of living to 100? In her book, The 100-Year Life, Linda Grattan emphasises how the traditional approach with education front-loaded at the early part of life will not sustain someone throughout their career anymore, unlike it did in the past. You need to develop a passion for learning for a successful career and life now. Education early on just won't sustain you throughout your career. So adopting the growth mindset means that you're so much more open to learning new skills, new experiences, and being more comfortable to fail and learn from that failure. We discussed with the Academy how to move from a fixed to a growth mindset and follow this up during their individual coaching sessions. So we want to encourage our apprentices to take interest in topics that they might normally cover off and start to challenge themselves around those topics. And in doing so, encourage that critical focus for lifelong learning. So we introduce a mandatory reading list, and this encourages you to tackle those topics that you might not usually do so. And this is also a way to enrich you, giving you knowledge that you wouldn't usually have at this time of your career. So this is just an example of some of the books that you see. Each of our apprentices is tasked to deliver 2 book reviews in which they'll give a 20-minute summary of the book to which the whole organisation is invited to a call. The presentation will cover, as I said, the summary of the book, insights and key methodology, and their key takeaways, and also covering off their likes and dislikes. Now, the most important question to ask of any theory is the so what. What does this mean for me, and what does it mean for my work? So I also ask our apprentices to find the relevance to Crimson in these books. And now this sort of book reviews that we have on a bi-monthly basis has had quite a massive impact on the rest of the organisation, moving to a learning organisation, an organisation with a growth mindset. So as I've already mentioned, we want our apprentices to be successful. So we really do focus on the individual, and that's not just Crimson, that's digital native. And that's why I feel we're really great partners in this apprenticeship programme, because we really do have a vested interest in the success of our apprentices as individuals. We want them to go on to do wonderful things in their career. We want them to be really, really successful. But what does success mean? Well, it means different things to each of us. But overall, I think happiness is key. We want our apprentices to be happy first and foremost. We want them to feel supported and safe. We want them to feel comfortable to fail, but to learn from that failure. Now, a great apprenticeship, as I said, is a partnership between an excellent employer and an excellent training provider. And we do believe we've got that. And we're really focused on our apprentices as individuals. So each of our apprentices is assigned a mentor, a buddy and a coach, each with a different focus. So the mentors are our functional consultants and our experts within the business. They act as professional role models, and they provide on-the-job training and expertise to our apprentices. So our apprentices will be assigned a mentor and they'll work alongside them on live customer projects. Our buddies are our year 2 apprentices. So our apprentices that joined us last year will be assigned as buddies for the cohort that are coming in this year. And they provide that essential point of contact around course content, understanding how to balance work and study, and tips and hints that they've found themselves in terms of putting together the evidence required for their portfolio for their apprenticeship. And finally, I talked about coaching already, but that's sort of a passion of mine. And I know that Ginger, who works with Digital Native, is really passionate about it as well. And this is where we really do focus on individuals. It's around providing the pastoral care and focusing on where there are gaps in the individual's development that we can help grow them as individuals. So during this session, I thought it'd be really interesting for you to listen to our existing cohort. So I've asked both, we've got two videos here. One, the first is been recorded by the ladies, and the second is the gentleman. And they've recorded this on their phone, so it's quite raw footage. But we felt that it would give you a really good insight into why they chose the apprenticeship, and maybe tell you a little bit more about how they found their first few months with Crimson.
Hi guys! I'm Nikita.
I'm Kelsey.
I'm Megan, and we are all employed by Crimson as Microsoft Dynamics 365 consultants, and as part of our journey we're with Digital Native, who are supplying our apprenticeship program into software testing.
So one thing I really like about this whole program is that I can actually get hands-on with the IT, because I don't come from an IT based background. So whilst learning your degree side of it, you can actually work. I think that's really good because you also get paid and you get your 4 years of experience whilst learning something completely new, as IT has many different sides to it.
So for me, I went to do sixth form to then do a job in IT for a year, but then found I wanted to get some sort of IT qualification. So I went to uni for a year, did cybersecurity, and found it wasn't really for me. Didn't like the debt, didn't like the pace of the course, and I also wanted to actually get hands-on experience.
So for me, I went to university, I did the 3 years, I'm in a lot of debt because of it, and once I finished, I didn't have the same opportunities I had expected to open up for me. So I started the apprenticeship program, and I know that I'm already learning so many skills that I hadn't before. So one big advantage that I believe this apprenticeship program has over doing a university degree is that you get the unique one-to-one experience. We're in a group of 8 and we all know each other really well. I feel as if I'm not on this process by myself, because I can always ask anybody if I need any help or anything else. One thing that I know that we've all discussed that we're looking forward to is actually going to the client sites now and applying our knowledge when we're there.
We're also really looking forward to seeing some of your faces around Crimson next year.
So to especially all the girls out there that are watching, please don't think IT is a male dominated area. It's changing, and Crimson especially has a really diverse culture. So for all of you who are watching, thank you for listening, and whatever you decide to do next year, good luck.
Bye guys!
Hello, this is just a little bit about why you should choose an apprenticeship over going to uni. We're currently at Digital Native. This is where we're doing our apprenticeship. We're learning about software testing, about our ISTQB exam, which is a week from today. So once we do that, we'll go back into the workplace and we'll be working with some of the more senior guys at the company. It's really good. I mean, I've seen a few of my friends at university, and I've got to say, a lot of the days they say they're quite bored. So I'm working every day, I'm earning money, and I'm doing something and getting a degree out of it at the end, which all the people at uni are getting as well. So yeah, I'll just pass you on to Ben. He'll tell you a little bit more.
Hi, I'm Ben, and if you're thinking about why you would choose an apprenticeship over uni, I think there's lots of benefits to doing an apprenticeship with such a great company like Crimson. First of all, you're getting paid and you're getting the qualifications which you would get at uni anyway, so I think it's a no-brainer really, as you won't have any debt from uni. You'll get to meet lots of great people and make lots of great friends, you know, just like you would at uni, and you're getting paid for it as well.
Hi, I'm Adam. I joined Crimson in July 2018. So I did a year of technical service apprenticeship, and I finished that, so now I'm on the level 4 software tester. Again, I decided to go for an apprenticeship over for uni, because I wanted to get that education but as well as the work experience, and you know, you get paid at the same time. So really I don't have anything bad to say about apprenticeship at all. Even if you haven't looked into it, I'd recommend to look into it. So thank you for listening.
So thank you for listening. I hope this has given you a better insight into the Crimson Academy. I'm now going to hand over to Mark Cotton, our practice lead for Dynamics.
Thanks, Kat. I'm Mark Cotton, and I head up the Dynamics 365 practice at Crimson. I've been at Crimson for 9 years. The Dynamics practice is a team of 14 technology consultants, or functional consultants as we call them. And they all have differing degrees of experience, and 3 of them are apprentices from a couple of years ago. Bolstered by that team of 14 people, we are also supported by a team of 8 apprentices from last year's intake. Not all of those apprentices may become Dynamics consultants. Personally, I hope they do, but perhaps they won't. Because there are, as Rob alluded to earlier on in the presentation, there are other areas of the business that might suit them better if they find that during this process they don't want to become Dynamics consultants. We're a customer-facing team, and my point about saying that we're a customer-facing team is trying to get across that we're not backroom coders. We don't sit in an office and code all the time. And why don't we code all the time? So the reason for that is the software that we use, Microsoft Dynamics. An analogy that I use to try and describe how we develop solutions for our customers using Dynamics is the idea of buying a sideboard from IKEA. So the 2 scenarios are you're buying a sideboard from IKEA, or you're having a handcrafted sideboard made for you. Okay, a handcrafted sideboard, you would go to a craftsman and he would take the source materials, planks of wood, and he'll take his tools and he would build a sideboard for your dining room to your exacting perfect requirements. It would be exactly what you asked for. Problem with that is it's expensive and it takes a very long time to build, and your requirements have to be absolutely perfect first time. That scenario in this analogy refers to the old way of building solutions, i.e. from code, but starting off writing code and building the solution. The way we build solutions for customers using Dynamics is a little bit more akin to going to IKEA and buying a sideboard for your dining room, in that it's probably about 95% close to exactly what you want. Okay, so it's white and it's got 2 glass doors and it's got the shelves, but it's not 100% exactly what you want. And often that's enough. And the reason why often that's enough for our customers is it being 95% close means that when IKEA release some new wireless charging pods that just slot into the top, you can just go to the IKEA, buy them off the shelves and put them in. And that's how we develop the solutions for our customers with Dynamics, in that as Dynamics release new features, our customers, with our help, can just plug them in. So why only 95%? Well, we also have a bunch of craftsmen in our team as well, and those craftsmen can code and do code and can make specialist add-ins into the solution, the specialist add-ins that go into the sideboard in this case. Say, for example, you wanted a wine rack in that middle bit, so you wanted to get rid of the shelves in the middle bit and put a wine rack in there. IKEA don't do a wine rack, so you'd go to one of our craftsmen, one of our coders, and they would build a plugin that fitted perfectly and went exactly where it needed to be. And so the benefit of that is that it's very easy to change components out and put new components in. It's very quick to build the solution to nearly exactly what the customer wants, and then we can use our craftsmen to get it to exactly what the customer wants. And it's Dynamics that gives us the ability to do that. We use, so the other image that you see on that slide there is what I refer to as the Wheel of Fortune. It's the Microsoft Wheel of Fortune. And it's probably difficult to see, but what that is showing is that there are many technologies in the Microsoft stack that we use to develop solutions for people. So just one thin slice of that pie there, that wheel, that's one thin spoke of that is Dynamics, but within there's things like Teams and Sway and Outlook and Exchange and SharePoint, and all of these Microsoft technologies that you may or may not have heard of. Our job as functional consultants is to have an awareness of all of those and know how we can fit them together to help the customer meet their needs. Next slide, please. Okay, so what would be required of you as a junior Dynamics consultant? Well, you can read this as well as I can read it out to you, but you'd need to actively participate in customer workshops. It is a customer facing role. We will expect you to work with customers. We'll expect you to work with customers face to face, or during these particular times, Teams meetings, of course, have really come to the fore. You need to be eloquent enough to write professional emails and to take and make calls with our customers. These are all important things, as well as being a technologist. Participating in those customer workshops will lead to you then helping us design what the solution might be. So when I say design, which components of that wheel will we fit together to build the solution for the customer? We'll then develop that solution with your help. So you'll be often in a team of a lead consultant, a couple of then functional consultants, and then they're backed up by some of the apprentices. And we'll use all of those complementary Microsoft solutions to help build it out. Maybe maybe you're watching this and you're interested in being a coder, or maybe then you're going to be one of those people that's the artisan, the craftsman that can then further develop to get us to that last 5%. What we found through going through this apprenticeship scheme is, yes, we teach you a lot, but we ourselves also learn a lot from you guys. You bring fresh ideas, and it livens up the team, and you bring fresh ideas and ways of thinking about building solutions that we wouldn't have even thought of, because we've been stuck in building solutions with this technology for years. We think we know best. But it's actually sometimes taking a breath of fresh air and seeing it with new eyes. We actually get a lot from you guys too. Key part of the role is testing, of course, and that's part of your the first year of the apprenticeship scheme to gain that ISTQB qualification. So testing the solutions that you build will help you build your portfolio with that. So finally, I just want to give you a little bit of an example of, if we can go on to the next slide, please, a little bit of an example of what one of the apprentices did for us recently. So we had a customer whose issue was that they have a compound full of cars, and they think they know what cars are in that compound, but they don't. So every day, Bob gets his clipboard out and he walks around the car park and he writes down car registration numbers. And once he's written them down, he then gets back in out of the rain, goes and sits in his little office and goes into his back office system, does a search for the car registration number and says, yes, okay, that one is in the car lot, that one's in the car lot. So working with this customer, we thought, of course, there's got to be a better way of doing that. So what we needed to do was very quickly show them that we could build an application to help them. Build an application that Bob can have on his mobile phone that will help him do it. So in this particular case, I very quickly, just to prove that it could be done, myself very quickly built a little proof of concept app. Honestly, genuinely took about 25 minutes using this Microsoft technology. Built a mobile app, deployed it to my mobile phone, and then with that mobile phone, I was able to go out into the car park at work, take a few screenshots of some car registration numbers, and then those car registration numbers actually fed into Excel and said, yes, that car was on the car park on this date and time. Genuinely, 25, okay, maybe 35 minutes. But what we then did with that proof of concept, and this is where one of the apprentices came in, a chap called Adam, I then handed that over to him, and Adam turned that into what you can now see on your screens. So he created a back office application. So that's the main screen that you can see on the left, which is showing all of the vehicles that were recorded in the car park and when they were and so on. But also the other screenshot that you can see is a screenshot of the mobile app. And so literally you can see that what we do there is you go and press the new image, you capture the image of the car registration number. That image then gets sent up into Microsoft servers, gets analyzed by cognitive services, does character recognition of it. Character recognition, of course, of a license plate is always going to work well because they're always a standard format. That very accurately brings down the number. We then use GPS to know that we're in Wolverhampton or wherever it is. And of course, it knows the date and time. And so now the job for Bob just simply is to go around to look at the car, press a snapshot, look at the car, press a snapshot. And he's doing his own work now much more accurately, much more quickly. And so the application, from my initial proof of concept, the application was then built out by one of our apprentices. And that's what I expect you guys to be able to do within, I wonder how long has Adam been with us? Let's say 6 months. And that's the kind of thing that you can and would be expected to do. It's all perfectly possible. And it's perfectly possible because the Microsoft technologies and the team around us, the experience of the team around us, allow us to do great things. So thanks for listening. I hope I've given you a bit of an insight into the type of work that we do. And should you, and I hope that you look forward to joining our family. I'm now going to pass over to Eddie, who's going to give you an introduction into the selection process.
Thank you, Mark. I'd like to say thank you there to Mark, Martin and Rob. Thank you very much for the presentations and the information you've shared there. Hopefully everybody has now a better understanding of what the Academy means, what the approach to the Academy and the learning is, but also the passion there from the teams and the pride in terms of what we do and how we deliver things. So what are our next steps? Well, some of these will probably change now based on where we are going forward, because we all don't have the crystal ball of when will we be released again. So at the moment, what we're saying is, now you've seen the presentation and the information on the Academy. If you have interest and would still like to register that interest, if you can contact Martin, that's martin@digitalnative.uk.com, the email address on there. We will then arrange telephone calls and interviews and initial screening during April. From there, we were hoping to be able to do face-to-face interviews. This will obviously now be dependent on what happens with the world going forward. Failing that, as Mark said, we're now all using heavily Teams as the new technology. So we may well end up doing the interviews through Teams through May and June. And from there, we hope to be able to make final offers around July time, which will then give us a start date in September. Hopefully those timelines will still be applicable. We will need to update as we go along. But I'd like to take the opportunity to say thank you very much for listening to the presentation. Hopefully the information you've received will help you be more informed on making the decision and registering interest with Martin. So I'd like to say thank you very much and cheerio. Bye.